dose that normally no normal consumption would take place. That dose finding study led the FDA to change their policy about kratom, and it is why they are not focused on natural leaf kratom products today, and why this board should not oppose what the FDA and HHS are currently doing. The addiction liability study was referenced will be concluded in 2027, but there already is a large number of peer-reviewed published articles, and this is important, funded by the National Institute on Drug Abuse. Our critics always talk about, oh, that was an industry funded study. The majority of studies that are included in the more than 200 or 300 peer-reviewed published articles funded by our taxpayer dollars, more than $100 million of it, concludes that kratom is safely administered when properly formulated and labeled properly. There is a lot of misinformation. You heard in the last meeting testimony from the Riverside Health Department about an incident that happened in Georgia where 5 children were hospitalized in an incident where all of the doctors, every single one in the emergency room, concluded that kratom was the cause of it. When we approached the sheriff who was conducting an investigation, a criminal investigation, and asked him if he would send the material that was being consumed by those children to the University of Florida, the preeminent lab for kratom, he agreed to do so. When tested, and this is what the misinformation, I know Mr. Forte didn't intend to do it, but he said it. When they investigated, they found that kratom wasn't present. They tested for 116 other drugs, no drugs were present. What they found was these kids were presenting with nausea, with dizziness, with diarrhea, and it was because they had consumed candy dots in too short a time. Sugar caused these problems, and you could go to the Mayo Clinic to see what those are. And the sheriff closed the investigation. No one can explain why the doctors all said that it was kratom, because it was not. That's an example of the kind of misinformation that's out there. Here's another important point that all of you should know. Every single death that is reported that is associated with kratom is evaluated by the FDA under their adverse event reporting system. They have 2 of them, one for all drug substances and one for dietary supplements. Those deaths have been reviewed, and what the FDA does is they look for clusters of deaths that are associated with a product, and they determine whether to open up a full investigation, which the FDA has done, and they've now determined that there is no causality that is significant enough in order to have an enforcement action, and why the FDA commissioner today repeatedly says we're not focused on naturally kratom products. They are focused on 7-OH. They're focused on synthetic products called MGM 14, 15, and 16. That's what this board should be focused on and what you started. I understand the appealing messages of parents. No one can fathom the loss of it. But when they take misinformation and they go out there, and by the way, the Kratom Danger Awareness people advise all of their participants not to share autopsies and tox reports. I was glad that you had an offer for one. Please look at that. It is incorrect to say that the FDA on import alerts says that all kratom is illegal. The FDA has had detentions on hundreds of kratom product raw materials, and they've released them for production into products. That's the fact. The evolution of science and understanding of kratom really hit the high point on July 29th, 2025, when the FDA, HHS, and NIDA all concluded that the deaths that are reported associated with kratom are typically associated with polydrug use, individuals that are involved in use of other substances, or importantly, adulterated products. That's where 7-OH comes in. That's where improperly formulated kratom products that don't use solvents that are FDA approved comes in. And there are always going to be underlying health conditions. And as tragic as those deaths are, we seek the truth. And we share that if the truth comes out that kratom is causing these deaths, we will support further restrictions or even a ban if it's necessary. But the science, the 8-factor analysis that's been done, that has been evaluated by the FDA and submitted to the DEA, contradicts that conclusion. So I would encourage the board to follow the science, let the legislature do their job. They will provide the appropriate restrictions to make sure this is regulated, which you heard many of the families that have suffered losses advocate for. Let's properly regulate it, age gate it, and that's the proper way to do it. We will support legislation along that way. because we want consumers to be protected. I'm glad to answer any questions. We stand in support of the legislature taking this on, and obviously the 708 thing is properly within your venue because the FDA itself has concluded, based on their evaluation of the safety profile, it needs to be scheduled. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you for your comments. Next, we'll go to Adam D, and please spell your last name.
My name is Adam Decker, and it's D as in dog, E-C-K-E-R. And I'm the general manager at Briggs Distributing Company in Billings. And we rolled out Kratom products in our territory in February of 2024. We represent 2 brands in our territory. It took us, we evaluated these Kratom products for 6 months, and we ultimately decided to sell them. The Kratom products we distribute contain less than 0.02% 7-OH and are made with natural Kratom extracts. We trust our supplier partners in this space and believe they are leading the way in setting standards for testing, quality controls, and the correct path to regulation for safe Kratom products. These products have become a significant revenue producer for us. A ban on all Kratom products would have a large economic impact on our company, as well as many of our retailers. We do not sell synthetic 7-OH products and have no intention of doing so. I ask you today to let the legislators do their job and create sensible Kratom legislation. 3 different interim committees have discussed Kratom the last several months, and there has been good discussions around Kratom and how to go about regulating it. We support the regulation of Kratom products. Thank you.
All right, thank you for your comments.
Next is Laura Romney. Laura Romney, next.
Yes, Laura Romney. Go ahead, Laura Romney.
Hello, how are you?
Go
Can you hear
ahead.
me?
Good, thanks. Yes,
Great,
go ahead.
great. Okay, perfect. Got my camera on. Hey, thanks for letting me speak today. I'll make it really quick. I'm a 9-year Kratom consumer for my chronic health condition called trigeminal neuralgia, extreme facial nerve pain. And it's truly been a miracle for my condition. I'm actually able to function as a mom, to be able to work full time, volunteer. It's just been really, truly a miracle for me. And I know with the opiate epidemic in full swing, there are so many patients out there that just don't have options for pain control. And this is just so important that that alternatives like Kratom are available. I just wanted to address one thing that is kind of was brought up in prior testimonies. That was about the extreme withdrawals and addiction and even cost. Those are all indicative of the synthetic 7-OH products. The withdrawals coming from these products are quick and fierce. You are actually addicted to them within about 3 to 5 days of consumption. You can easily blow through close to $1,000 a month because they're super expensive and the withdrawals again are severe. Most have to go into a rehab facility to be able to kick the habit because it's really difficult. So again, this is not natural Kratom. This natural products are, again, you taper, you do great, nothing like opiates or, the harder drugs like that. So, and one last thing, Kratom is not an opioid. It never was, never is. 7-OH absolutely is a full opioid. And so you definitely don't want that on your gas station shelves or your convenience store shelves. There's no way I would want my teenager or even my young adult having access to those products. So I support fully to ban the synthetic products and to keep the natural Kratom legal for patients like me who really, really need it. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Just a minute. Do we have Curtis Schomer?
Representative Schomer.
Representative Schomer?
Yep.
Are you still? We're trying to let you in.
Thank you. I was just trying
Yes,
to
go
get to
ahead.
the meeting. I got back in. Thank you, Marcy.
Okay, yes. Would you like to make any comments or are you just listening?
Just listening. I'm good. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Okay, we'll move on to Heidi Sikora. Is that the correct pronunciation?
That was perfect. Good morning, Chair and members of the board. Thank you so much for allowing me to speak. My name is Dr. Heidi Sikora. I'm a retired nurse practitioner, doctor of nursing practice, and healthcare executive. I serve as the volunteer chief scientific officer for the nonprofit International Plant and Herbal Alliance. My background is in developing evidence-based clinical guidelines across oncology, heart failure, brain injury, wound care, and geriatric care, grounded in rigorous data evaluation and patient outcomes. So basically, my career has been spent balancing the benefits and harms and determining what leads to the best outcomes. I have no financial interest in Kratom. I am very supportive of regulation for Kratom, especially the Kratom Consumer Protection Act, that actually limits the amount of 7-OH to natural levels in the plant. I do want to acknowledge the parents who have spoke that have lost an adult child. Their grief really does deserve respect, and nothing I say about the evidence is meant to diminish that loss. I would like to just offer brief scientific clarification that might be supportive. First of all, natural kratom is not a drug. It's a botanical that's been used. The leaf of the tree from Southeast Asia has been used culturally and also for hundreds of years in the United States for several decades. So there's a very important distinction. It actually contains more than 50 naturally occurring alkaloids. After harvest, a very small portion of mitragynine can actually form a small amount of 7-OH by natural oxidation, but those are micro levels. The trace levels are far below any known pharmacological threshold, not extractable or commercially usable, and have not demonstrated harms. A small fraction of mitragynine is metabolized through the liver into 7-OH, but that's only like 1 to 5%, resulting in very low physiological levels. These normal metabolic levels likewise have not been linked to any adverse effects in scientific literature or adverse event reporting. When serious adverse events are reported, they almost always involve factors such as polydrug use, adulterated products, concentrated extracts, or significant pre-existing conditions, not natural kratom leaf. I think it's very important to remember that natural kratom and its most abundant alkaloid, mitragynine, does not recruit the beta-arrestin pathway that is associated with respiratory depression. This is what makes it so very important to have legal access to natural kratom. Classical opioids, as we know, the mechanism of death is from respiratory depression. So when people are using natural kratom as a harm reduction tool, as opposed to using some synthetic opioid or overusing opioids, it's not going to lead to that respiratory depression. So I think that's extremely important to remember. I also wanted to reiterate what Mac Haddow had said about the 8-factor analyses, and that's that evaluation process that you've been discussing. An 8-factor analysis is a gold standard to determine if a substance should be scheduled or not scheduled. That has been done multiple times at the federal level, and the World Health Organization also recognized that the natural leaf kratom does not meet the criteria for scheduling it. In addition, Concordia School of Pharmacy also did an 8-factor analysis, and they supported the conclusions that the FDA had come to. So I just wanted to give you that as a reference in case, save you some time from having to redo that whole process. You might want to look at those. So 7-OH in concentrated form, that's a semi-synthetic substance. It is nothing like the natural plant, and I definitely encourage action, whether it be legislative or by the Board of Pharmacy, to remove that from the market. I think I think I've covered pretty much everything, but I just want to thank you so much for the opportunity to speak, and I appreciate your time.
All right, thank you for your comments. We'll move next to Misty Brown. Go ahead, Misty.
Hi, can you guys hear me?
Yes, go ahead.
My name is Misty Brown, and I'm a Kratom advocate, consumer, and activist from Colorado. I do have family that live in Montana. My mom was born and bred in Montana. Matter of fact, on August 1st of 2018, I had to take my mom off life support, via phone call because I live in Colorado. I'd like to say that I wish I knew Kratom was even an option on this earth prior to my mom passing away, because she too was also the victim of the overprescribing opioid epidemic. My dad as well. Matter of fact, tomorrow will be his death anniversary. But I would like to read y'all my testimony. From 2008 to 2019, I lived in the grip of FDA-approved pain pills, benzos, and muscle relaxers prescribed for my degenerative disc disease. For 11 years, chronic pain management fueled my addiction. What started as a dependency slowly slid into a destructive cycle of misuse and despair. In April of 2019, I was dismissed from pain management after failing a required pill count. I was 11 pills short, and my usual drug dealers didn't have any of the pink Oxy-10s I needed. Cut off from prescriptions, I turned to the streets in desperation and eventually slipped into cocaine use while searching for another doctor. Then, in June of 2019, while suffering through cocaine withdrawal, I stumbled upon the documentary A Leaf of Faith. That single moment changed the course of my life. The very next day, I began my journey with whole leaf kratom, not synthetic 7-OH, by walking into a smoke shop where I was ID'd. The kratom was sitting behind a glass counter. Kratom quieted the relentless cravings. The constant voice whispering, one more pill, one more snort, one more escape. For the first time in over a decade, I felt peace. Kratom gave me the space and clarity to confront the deeper reasons behind my addictions and to rebuild my life from the ground up. I have not returned to pain management over 6.5 years. Today, I'm a thriving mother, a proud first-time grandmother, a functioning member of society, and a tax-paying citizen. Most importantly, I'm no longer a burden to my children. I'm an example of hope and healing. I will be forever grateful that I found safe, lab-tested whole leaf kratom. Now I share my story, knowledge, and the science behind it to help others facing addiction, chronic pain, anxiety, and depression. And just like my shirt says, don't Google kratom, ask a researcher. I live by that. Thank you for allowing me this time to speak.
All right, thank you for your comments. We'll move next to participant identified as Susan with a picture of two people.
Yes, hello. I hope I can still speak.
Yes, go ahead, Susan. If you could give us your last name and spell it, please.
Yeah, my last name is Cave, C-A-V-E, and I appreciate you allowing me to speak. But my name's Susan. I'm also the mother of William Cave, who died at just 32 years old from consuming raw leaf kratom, not 7-OH, not synthetic kratom. William was a healthy young man who worked hard. He had no history of addiction or drug use or abuse. He was a loving father of one daughter and a devoted husband. And on April the 20th of 2024, my son did not come home. His toxicology confirmed mitragynine was his killer. My William died from a toxic mixture of his prescribed antidepressants and raw leaf kratom. In the beginning, William and I were told that raw leaf kratom was safe, natural, and a benign supplement to help with anxiety and depression. After consuming raw leaf for less than 1 year, William realized he had become dependent when he tried to stop and could not stop because the withdrawals and cravings were so overpowering. William took raw leaf kratom for 4 years before it finally took his life. The last 3 years was spent trying to withdraw and stop kratom, each time failing. Parents like me are left to bury our children while the American Kratom Association and the kratom industry in general continue to deny us responsibility, deny deaths, call medical examiners incompetent, and call grieving parents liars. If raw leaf kratom bans had existed earlier, my son might still be here today. After his death, I joined a national nonprofit organization called Kratom Danger Awareness, founded by Wendy Chamberlain. Now I advocate not only for my son, but for thousands of other families who have been devastated by raw leaf kratom. In 2025, the Drug Enforcement Administration formally accepted our citizen petition requesting the scheduling of mitragynine and 7-hydroxymitragynine. That acceptance means that there is enough scientific and medical concern to warrant a full review under the Controlled Substance Act. Please listen to these families. Please support bills that ban or schedule raw leaf kratom. Thank you for your time.
All right, thank you. We'll move on next to participant identified as Jennifer.
Hi, my name is Jennifer. You want me to spell my last name, Gillis?
Yes, please spell that.
It's Gillis.
Go ahead.
My name is Jennifer Gillis, and 20 years ago, I was diagnosed with transverse myelitis and became a lifelong chronic pain patient. After losing access to my prescription medications through no fault of my own, I spent years struggling to manage my chronic pain. That changed in 2019 when I discovered whole leaf kratom. Because of kratom, I can get out of bed, run errands, attend school functions, and live a more normal life, even with my physical limitations. My story is not unique, and for many of us, kratom is a lifeline, providing pain relief without the mental impairment commonly associated with traditional opioids. As you've heard today, there's a significant difference between natural kratom products and 7-OH products. The recent and growing concerns of reported issues that keep popping up that we keep hearing about are due to the 7-OH products, which are often marketed as more pure or more potent form of kratom. This has led to many consumers, even long-time natural kratom consumers, to unintentionally develop very negative consequences, which are being attributed to kratom because to so many people, that's exactly how these products were sold to them. It's just really put a bad reputation on whole leaf kratom, and it's been very disheartening to see. Getting 7-OH products off the shelves, along with reasonable regulations like age restrictions, keeping products behind the counter, proper labeling, mandatory lab testing, when most reputable vendors already do that, follow these standards. But those are the things that would keep consumers safe and still allow access to people that rely on kratom for a better quality of life. But I think the key is a clear differentiation between natural kratom and 7-OH products. And I just want to say I'm here today not because I have anything to gain besides the promise I made to myself back in 2019 when I found kratom and I got a second chance at life. I decided to use my time and my voice to advocate to keep kratom legal for those who are still searching for relief and for those who rely on kratom now and can't be here to speak today. Thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it.
All right, thank you. We have two more commenters, it looks like. We'll go next to participant Jeremy, and please provide your and spell your last name.
Yeah, my name is Jeremy DeLuca, Deluca. I wanted to chime in and just say, my name is Jeremy DeLuca. I've been an entrepreneur and business leader in the sports nutrition and health supplement world for almost 30 years. I have sold close to $1 billion of nutrition supplements with one of the largest online sports nutrition brands, sold to Walmart, GNC, Vitamin Shop. But I wanted to talk about Kratom today. I've seen plenty of supplements come and go, the impacts of what supplements do, but I will say, very truly do I see a product like Kratom that makes the difference in people's lives like it does in its natural form. I personally am not a daily Kratom user. I use it when I need it for situations with pain or where I know it can help. I know tons of people that use Kratom and they don't have to continue to increase on the dose. They take the standard 1 gram of Kratom powder daily, and they have so for the people that I know that take it daily every day, and they don't feel like they need to continue to increase their doses. I would also say that, I sympathize as well with the parents on here. I personally have lost a child. So I know what it feels like to lose a child, but at the same time, there are tens of thousands, millions of Kratom consumers in the United States that need Kratom to get out of bed, do their daily functions. Most of us take those things for granted, but I see tons of patients that do get out of bed and they need Kratom to get moving forward. At the same time, I also want to say there just needs to be regulation. A lot of these concerns, I've been following Kratom for about 20 years, and about a lot of these concerns have only come up recently as 7-OH has continued to grow and become a bigger part of the market. You would never had any of these hearings or meetings going on 5 years ago, before, a lot of this, like 3 years ago, before 7-OH really started to take off and become a huge impact with these synthetic counterparts of Kratom. So I'm here to support regulation. I think that, regulation, safety standards, protect consumers, but they also, put reasonable guidelines in place. I'd also say that for the Idaho, I heard someone mention earlier that the Idaho KCPA was dead. I was following the Idaho KCPA yesterday. The KCPA is still moving forward in Idaho. It was just going back, and it's going to be, I think, resubmitted next week. So I know that is still moving forward in Idaho. But like I said, I just wanted to chime in. I've been in the sports nutrition health category, botanicals for a while. And like I said, I'm just here to support it. Think there needs to be regulation, and I appreciate you guys taking the time to listen to everybody today.
All right, thank you. We'll move to the last commenter, Mr. Austin.
Yeah, good morning again. I'm Dr. Kyle Austin. I'm a pharmacist and candidate for United States Senate. I support the Kratom industry, and I support people's right to make choices for self-health. Why are we having this discussion today on Kratom? Okay, we have all identified Kratom as a botanical, correct? It's not a drug. Therefore, this board does not have the authority to schedule or regulate it. Pursuant to MCA 37-7-201, the Board of Pharmacy is not granted the authority under law to regulate supplements, including botanicals. Pursuant to MCA 50-2-116, Riverstone Health and the boards of health do not have the authority to regulate business or regulate botanicals. There is no proof that Kratom has a direct cause of death. Just because someone dies in a car wreck does not mean that we ban all automobiles. This is nothing more than an abuse of power and government overreach. Laws are already in place to regulate 7-OH and Kratom. I would suggest you follow them instead of trying to make more laws and regulations that hurt the innocent people of Montana. Kratom, the natural form, has its place in society, unregulated. The Board of Pharmacy has a history of collusion, not following the laws, manufacturing socialism, and violating the civil rights of Montanans. This Board of Pharmacy is a disgrace to the pharmacy profession and a disgrace to the people of Montana. As a result, the people of Montana are prepared to form a class action lawsuit against the Department of Labor and Riverstone Health. As Montana's next United States Senator, not only will I defund the department's $93 million in federal funding, I will ensure that Kratom is protected under federal law and is unregulated as a dietary supplement. Thank you.
Right, seeing no further comments, I want to see if there's anyone else that wants to be informational that hasn't not already spoken. Seeing none, Mr. Chair, I turn it back to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcy, and thank you to everybody that contributed with comments. I do want to, before we get kind of into a board discussion, I do want to just mention, appreciate, as I said before, all the comments, definitely recognize, respect, and sympathize with some of the stories and obviously the threat to public safety and health. And, definitely welcomed and appreciated the comments from the legislators. Always welcome to come in and provide any type of comments. So, before I go into opening up to board discussion, I do want to turn it over to Ms. Stallkamp, if she's available, to just talk through some pathways and some ideas for the board to consider before we have conversation. Jennifer, are you able to jump on?
I'm here, Mr. Chair.
Thanks.
I am in the room here with Marcy.
Okay, I don't see you, so.
I'm hiding up next to the TV, but so I turned my camera on so you could see me. So the board has several options. You can pursue rulemaking if you should desire. I do respectfully disagree with Mr. Austin on the board's ability to regulate in this space. You can take no action and defer to the legislature, or you can continue to gather more information and sort of wait and see what happens with the legislative process as it plays out over the next several months. And as I mentioned earlier, Mr. Chair, members of the board, Marcy and I have been hard at work on finding you background information to complete that 8-factor analysis that you're required to do if you are going to schedule drugs. And then as well, we've been in contact with our economists and distributors who would be subject to an economic impact. So you could do the economic impact analysis required when you do rulemaking. Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Jennifer. I appreciate that. And I think that gives us a jumping off point. I guess I'll just start with the fact that the committees have been formed, and 3 committees, to my knowledge, and discussions have begun. I think that's a very positive step forward for the state of Montana. And it gives me hope that the public safety and threat is being taken serious. And, I just appreciate the efforts thus far. So I'll open it up now to the board for discussion. Paul, Logan, Kristen, Michelle, and Gail, anything you want to add at this point in time?
Yeah, Mr. Chair, this is Paul Brand, pharmacist member. I'd just like to say it was a great discussion on both sides. And although, action looks like our last meeting garnered a lot of attention, there's been 3 legislative committees. And I feel like specifically the one with the Department of Justice is far more appropriate way to address this than the Board of Pharmacy, since we really have no inspection authority over these places. That's just my thoughts.
Thank you, Paul. Logan, any additional comments from you?
Yeah, Logan Tinson, pharmacist board member. I would agree with Paul. I'm happy that our discussion in December garnered a lot more interest. I empathize with those that had very moving testimony today. But I do feel like that there is a path for us, but I think the better path is for this to go through the legislature and work its way through that way.
Thanks, Logan. Michelle, any comments?
I just wanted to thank everyone for their time and input on this matter. I don't have anything more to add. Thank you.
Gail?
Thank you. I agree with comments from Logan and Paul, and appreciate too the testimony from many people who have deep hurts over this. But I suggest going forward as Logan and Paul have suggested.
Thank you. And Kristen, thanks, Gail. Kristen, any comments beyond what was already spoken to?
No, just, concur with the gratitude to those who came and spoke to us today and shared your side of the aisle. I think it's important to hear and have the discussion, but I do agree with Paul and with Logan.
Okay. I'm in agreement as well, just for the record. I think the legislation and the legislative action is our the best path forward at this point in time. And I do recommend that we just take up the recommendation from staff and council on moving forward with that approach on Kratom. Marcy, I don't believe we need any form of motion at this point in time for that. Am I correct?
Correct. I would just offer to supplement what the board has discussed, our great appreciation and sympathy for the comments that we've received, for those that have had a loss in their family, but also for those that have found benefit from the product. And then general support that seems to focus in on the synthetic 7-OH and variations of that being regulated and moving forward. I think the board, and I want our legislators to know that the board can be a resource for the legislators and the interim committees moving forward, if there's something that we can assist with. But with 3 interim committees looking at this and a comprehensive bill in discussion with stakeholders, we're happy to monitor and, again, be a resource as needed. With the information that we've received, I just offer to the public that just because you have provided your information here, I think you should know that there's now going to be an ongoing legislative process for you to provide your information. So the discussion in Montana does not stop here. It just is moving over to the legislative authority pathway. We will support that. And for our legislative colleagues, we will provide any information that we can in assistance based on these public meetings that we've had with the discussions of Kratom. For those of you that have submitted information to us, consider doing that with the legislative process and providing that similar type of comment to the committees. I'll stop there and see if anyone has any questions for me on all that. No, but again, we do not need a motion. The board is just choosing not to take an action and to be a resource for the process as we monitor the status as it moves forward to the 2027 legislative session starting in January of 27. Thank you, everyone.
All right. Thank you, Marcy. Thanks for everybody's time on that. That should allow us to move forward to agenda